write my life story.
Welcome to Brother to Brother Talk. I'm Mark Carbonell, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. Uh, my delight is to be able to share with you some things that I hope will be part of a solution-driven dialogue. Uh, my opening statements are relative to what has currently taken place across the nation in commanding headline. But rather than dwell on the coup attempt or as many have labeled the attack on democracy, it's a wake-up call for especially Black people to love themselves. We watched on national television, international television, internet, global media forms, the difference between how peaceful protesters were treated over the summer in major cities and what took place when people actually tried to overthrow the government. And it serves as a reminder that if you do not take care of your own, uh, you can call it citizenship, citizenry, equal protection under the law, and we're seeing that it's not present, it's not happening. It's time that we begin to look out for ourselves in terms of providing assistance, and let's do it from an economic realm. Can't do it from uh, any other perspective. And not until we learn to love each other, take care of each other, will we see the kind of demonstration that just took place and the reverse treatment for those who are doing things that are horrendous in their own views um, toward what the Republic calls a democracy. As a man of a Black man in America, not just a man of color, but a Black man in America, and one who has been around for a few decades and has what I would love to think of as sage wisdom at this point. It's time to love yourselves. There are examples of that other than what we saw uh, from the respect that even the people in protesting the government election, actually disrupting the final steps of the political process for the consolidation of power into one man as president of the United States. Um, we have to have that, and we can only earn that if we have collective economic power, whereby we form strong communities, not dependent upon government handouts, but dependent upon having an opportunity to get started and launch from a perspective as a tax-paying citizen, and then commanding love among ourselves and for one another, that we understand the bond and the necessity of caring for one another, whether that's through our faith perspective, our human connection perspective, and the reality that the world has taken on a divisive attitude, and we cannot afford to be fragmented politically. We can have different political views. I'm not even opposed to having different political party affiliation and remaining some independent. There's nothing that says you have to be a Republican, nothing says you have to be a Democrat, and nothing that prohibits you from being a libertarian or an independent. Whatever that is, that's a political and an ideology perspective. Has nothing to do with brother to brother, sister to sister, brother to sister, sister to brother, love for one another to shape a community that is economically viable, safe, where we can exchange ideas and concepts in a peaceful manner. If we do this within our community, we will grow respect for one another, grow love for one another. And by doing so, then we can be a part of a larger conversation. But to lose that perspective in the midst of this turmoil and get swept up in the dialogue about the Republican democracy being attacked and forgetting self-love is only to condemn yourself and place yourself hoping that someone else would do something for you that you can do for yourself. And it's simple. Where do we get started? You start by caring and loving one another. When I come back, I'm going to say a few more things about those who have the resources already. It's time to take a close examination of the divine blessing that you have received when you have more than enough. Isn't it time that you love the community more than a handout? Isn't it time that you love your brothers and sisters more than putting on some type of athletic event, summer camp, and calling it giving back? When will we have enough love to share the wealth? Well, that's my opening statement. The war on democracy, the attack on the republic. I've been excluded for so long. I'm thinking about now the reconciliation, both spiritually and naturally, for the people. Let's take a break. This is Brother to Brother Talk. We will take a break and we'll be right back. I'm Mark Carbon-Oles, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. We'll be back with more solution-driven dialogue on Brother to Brother Talk.
GreenLeafBeef.com.
I'm Mark Carbon-Oles, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. Welcome back to Brother to Brother Talk. And I'm going to be joined shortly with Brother Ron Yates, radio personality out of Pennsylvania and also in New York. Brother Ron, how are you this evening?
I'm good, Mark. Happy New Year. How are you?
Blessed New Year's greeting to you as well. Ron, give me your thoughts uh, on brother to brother love, sister to sister love, with the backstory of what took place at the nation's capital on yesterday.
Well, you know, love amongst ourselves is something that is paramount, right? Um, you can't build a house without a foundation. And for Black people, whether it's in this country or throughout the diaspora, love is the foundation for us as a people. Um, it brings us together, it allows us to cooperate with one another. It's what allowed us to build some of the world's greatest civilizations. The love we had for one another, and we were able to produce with that love, with that understanding of one another. Um, that's something that was lost in this country for a number of reasons. Now, as it relates to yesterday, yesterday was just I'd have to say, an amazing spectacle. No one ever expected to see an insurrection inside this country where citizens would attack the US Capitol at the behest of the President of the United States of America. Essentially, he led an insurrection against his own government. And it was just so many emotions that, ran through my mind as I watched this. This is something that had been coming for some time, but it's still just shocking to see. Four people died yesterday, and a number of people were arrested, and there's more to come. And for those folks who went down and who stormed the Capitol, it's it was really an exercise in futility, if you think about it. These people went down there to try to preserve the Trump legacy, the Trump presidency. Now, both sides of the aisle are talking about invoking the 25th Amendment to immediately remove him. Prior to yesterday's incident, Trump was raising enormous sums of money to prepare for his legal defense when he leaves office. Well, with all that money Trump has, will he give a dime to the legal defense of many of these people who are going to be arrested? Right now, the FBI, the DC Metro Police, and several other law enforcement agencies are working in concert to identify these people who went into the Capitol, and they're going to be arrested. Well, with Trump out of office, there's no pardon. There's no financial assistance. And the sad thing is that they went to Washington and was whipped into this angry frenzy, and they went down to the Capitol. They really had no plan. It's kind of like the French
Well,
Revolution where they stormed the Bastille. The people that stormed the Bastille, they had a plan. They removed the leadership and they established a new government. These folks went in there, broke stuff, tore up office space, and then left. So what did they accomplish?
well, let's think about this for a minute. Maybe that was their plan. All anarchists have a plan of just decentralizing the government, and it
But
causes and it causes those who are in power to start functioning or making decisions about things that have nothing to do with advancing the government. Removing Trump now from office, removing President Trump from office right now with 2 weeks left to go is now an exercise in futility. Why are you wasting that time and energy and dialogue on something like that.
You know, actually,
The other part of it is the anarchists may have something going for them that we're not looking at, and their agenda is always the same. And so let's not dismiss this as just something that was a one-time occurrence. I think it goes much deeper than that, goes much further than that. And also, if you're talking about removing Trump from office, that might be something that you want to do if you're prepared, believing that he's prepared to pardon all the people who were participants, because he can do it. Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon before he was charged with anything.
mm-hmm.
And so all the people that have come out and have been identified by these various law enforcement agencies right now, that might be their hope that before he leaves office in 2 weeks, he will pardon us. And so if that's the plan of removing him, fine. But I would
I
have to
think,
say that the anarchist strategy may not be as simple as they would without a strategy. They may have had a strategy which is to cause chaos and to stop the government from functioning at a level that is productive for a citizen. And now you have functioning, legislative bodies functioning about protecting something that you have enough laws on the books already to protect whatever happens. I think the focus needs to be away from just the Trump aspect. Why were there so many Capitol Police absent? Why was there? Why was there? The investigation need to go into all those who allow such people to come, such numbers of people, not people as if in derogatory manner, but the sheer numbers of people. I've been to the Capitol in a lobbyist position, and I know how difficult it is to get in, even when you have the credentials and they're expecting you. And so, what we saw there yesterday was a display of something broader than that's a one-time chaotic event. That concerns me more than what actually took place on yesterday.
well, in terms of Trump and invoking the 25th Amendment, I think that's something that they need to go forward with simply because Trump is angry and Trump clearly has suffered a break with reality. Yet he is still the commander in chief of the armed forces, and Trump has access to the nuclear codes. You do not want a madman with access to the nuclear codes. That is what we have fought wars over. We said Saddam Hussein was a madman. We said Manuel Noriega was a madman. We said Colonel Gaddafi was a madman, and we put troops in harm's way to remove madmen from office, from power. And we have to do the same thing here because there's more damage to be done. Now, with respect to the people that went into the Capitol, yes, they went there to disrupt the counting of the electoral ballots. What they did was they disrupted that process for a brief period of time. The process went forward, and now it is official. This was only ceremonial anyway, but it is now official that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be reciting the oath of office in about 13 days. But in the interim, you do not want to allow Trump to do any more damage. And for these people, I don't think they had a real plan. I think this was just something, there were folks in the crowd that were more exuberant than others who began to rush the gates, and people like sheep will follow. A lot of these people, did not come to DC in order to be a disruptor, in order to attack the Capitol. They went there because they wanted to protest peacefully.
Well, some of the people in the crowd, let's just give the benefit of the doubt and say the majority of the people in the crowd came with protests, but to protest peacefully. But those who came with weapons, those who came with bombs, did not come without preparation. They
Absolutely.
came, they came knowing what they wanted to do, and just like the protests over the summer, there was the infiltration of the protest. So my concern is how do we come out of this situation, building something positive. That this, if we say this was an isolated attempt, then show me now, uh, not just the legislature. I'm not looking for the legislative body to suddenly get an epiphany or an inflatus and start making great laws that's going to change the universe. I expect them to go in and do like they've always done, pass legislation with a lot of pork bills that take the taxpayers' money and direct it at a lot of stuff that's not going to benefit the people. And so I'm saying, let's look at what took place yesterday and bring about a solution for those who are hurting the most. And how do we now pivot from an election process that's over? It's over. It's settled. Let's pivot now to the position of how do we improve the state of life for the people. That's my concern. Let's focus now on the people, and there are enough laws already on the books. Like you said, the 25th Amendment. There are tons of laws on the books that can handle everything that took place on yesterday, and we don't need to continually belittle a circumstance or a situation that has nothing to do with my day-to-day quality of life.
Well, Mark, I think that right now there's a number of opportunities. And I think right now there's a number of opportunities for progressives. And that could be, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on, it's not necessarily your political persuasion, but it's the way you're thinking. And you're recognizing that there are opportunities. Right now, this country is in disarray. And it's going to take people who are forward thinking to put this country back together. Right now, we now know it is official that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the next president and vice president of the United States of America. But you do have a group of hardcore Trump supporters that will not be governed by this new administration. But we've known since Lincoln's presidency that a divided country cannot stand. So what we have to do is we have to find ways to put this country back together. And as people, Black people, we can be an integral part of reestablishing this country. We now have an opportunity to make this country live out its creed, the creed that Dr. King spoke about 50, 60 years ago. We now have that opportunity to get a seat at the table and talk about the changes we want to see, so we don't have an overabundance of force for a peaceful protest, but underrepresentation at a violent insurrection. So those are things.
My stance. The political process is fine. We know how to work that. When you without the participation of Blacks in the political election and even the primary, if the Blacks had not been involved in the primaries as far back as the South Carolina primary, Joe Biden would be president. But it's too late to negotiate with Joe Biden now. Joe Biden has the power. You should have negotiated before the election. My premise now is in looking for the healing of the nation that you speak of has to start right now with the healing of the Black community. We have to stop doing things that give us a stereotypical namesake. We have enough resources among Black people who are making enormous salaries, whether it's entertainers, whether it's athletes, whether it's corporate owners, to take a look at now, build a strong Black community. We can't be a part of the political process to build a strong nation if we are unwilling to be a part of building a strong Black community. That part is baffling to me. That part we haven't gotten a hold of and reconnected with. the love that's needed for people to come back into the community to build a strong community. You don't have to move in the community to help build a strong Black community. You don't have to live next door to a rat infested dwelling to show that you have love for the people in the community, but you can help build and eradicate those rat infested dwellings. You can see that there's a need for economic viability in the community. That's what builds a city. The economics of the city. You don't have to live in the city. You can have your mansion out in the suburbs if that's where you want to live. Fine. I'm not asking you to move back into uh, the heart of a city, but let your heart be in the city with the people. I think we demonstrated we can build political assets. We had a black president, and you got now have a black woman vice president. Okay, that's fine. We have a fingerprint, a footprint in the political arena. Now let's take that same foot and plant it back in the Black community. I'm going to take a break right here, and then I'm going to come back with Ron and let him give you his summation and his wisdom on what it takes to go forward. And as he has aptly stated, healing in the nation. This is Brother to Brother Talk. We will take a break and we'll be right back. I'm Mark Carbonell, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. We'll be back with more solution-driven dialogue on Brother to Brother Talk.
Beef.com.
Welcome back. I'm Mark Carbonell, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank, and with my guest tonight, radio personality Ron Yates. And Ron, I'm going to give you spotlight and let you give us your wrap up. I just wanted to let you know, appreciate you being here with us to start the new year. We welcome your participation, and the door is always open for you to be with us.
Well, thank you, Mark. I very much appreciate that. And Mark, I think essentially we're on the same page. There was a famous Black historian, John Henrik Clarke, and he said that we got ourselves together and then we took our show on the road. So essentially, we built unity. We built the civilization in Africa, and then we took those civilizations around the world and taught civilization to the rest of the world. And essentially, we're going to be doing the same thing here in this country. For most of us, Black Americans, while we are all of, or most of us, of African descent, and have ancestry on the continent of Africa, those of us in this country, the vast majority of us were born here, and this is what we know. And we need to take stake in this country and be part of the healing process. And as it relates to negotiating with Joe Biden is going to need a lot of help. Kamala Harris and the rest of the administration is going to need a lot of help because this country is so divided. So now that's what I mean about the opportunity for us to be part of this new America, because the people that went into the Capitol, I think, are representative of the old America, the old guard. And that old guard is dying off. The world is changing. And these people are very much afraid of change. They want to go back to a time when things made sense to them, a time like the 1950s in America. That's never going to happen. So inevitably, they're going to have to accept change because change is inevitable. And we need to be an integral part of that change.
Well, thank you, Ron. And I wholeheartedly agree. We just have to have more than a monolithic approach to how that change is going to unfold and what that change is going to look like. Once again, thank you so very much, Ron, for being with us tonight. I just wanted to say, brother to brother talk, as we have so much to cover. We'll be back next week, next Thursday at 9, and we're going to be coming back every week with solution-driven motivation, seeking a way to bring about the betterment of the nation and enabling people to know that there's a greater foundation to be had than a destructive path that we're seeing. I'm Mark Carbonell, Managing Director, Midwest Minority Think Tank, and Brother to Brother Talk. Oh,